Welcome to MLB The Multiverse. So what is MLB The Multiverse? So this is a full in-game mod of MLB The Show 2020. It's going to feature 20 plus genres of video games, movies, live action TV, cartoons, books, and more. Every icon that you see on the screen right now is actually a built player in our MLB The Show 2020. So those characters have the likeness of the character, as well as stats that kind of reflect attributes of the character, along with custom music for when they walk up to the plate. So the kind of full shebang. There's 400 plus players that we've made, spread over 26 new teams with logos and uniforms to match, as well as 4 teams of current MLB stars and legends to kind of round out the field. All right, so let's get into a little bit. So for all of you that are maybe not as big fans of baseball, but are fans of one of these genres, I'm just going to briefly talk about how we're going to split up the teams here. So every team is going to have at least 5 outfielders. So those are the guys kind of in the green grass at the top of the field that are responsible for running around more than the infield. There are 6 infielders on every team, so that's first base, second base, shortstop, and third, as well as 2 backups that can kind of spread between those different positions. There's 1 dedicated catcher, and then one of the other flex players is also going to be a backup catcher. And then every team is going to have at least 6 pitchers. So that's 3 starting pitchers, 2 relief pitchers, and 1 closing pitcher to hopefully come in and end the game. The team that we're going to be playing as is the Ragtag Rangers. And this team is kind of like a pirate ship team. So it's going to feature 1 or 2 players from all these different genres that we're going to get onto this team in a draft. And that draft is going to come up in the next video. So it's still going to be a mystery for now, who we're going to actually be playing with. These are their home and away uniforms, and they're kind of inspired by the retro Charlotte Hornets. As again, the roster for this team is still a big question mark, so tune in for the next video to find that out. All right, so now we're going to talk through the first team here. Hunter x Hunter fans may recognize the logo, as well as the York New City. So this is the York New Hunters. Just for this team, I'm going to mention that they are in the AL East. Most of the teams I'm going to talk about in detail are in the American League. I'll talk about a few National League teams too, but really I'm going to focus on teams where we're going to be playing more. So here are their home and away jerseys. And then again, one more kind of exposition slide a little bit to talk about how we're going to review each team. So as I click through, each tier is going to show up. So, all the A tiers will kind of show up at one time. And for the purposes of, getting through this, I'm going to read each player and kind of what their position is. And then at the end, I'll just kind of try to give a general gist summary of each team. So for S tier on this team, we got Shiapoof at second base. He's one of the Chimera Ant Royal Guards. Isaac Netero at first, and then Zeno Zoldyck is a starting pitcher for this team. For the B tier, we got Killua Zoldyck, we got Kite at shortstop, and Icalgo as a relief pitcher. C tier, we have Kurapika in left, Leorio in right, Gone Freaks at third, Phyton is a relief pitcher, and then Bisky and Silva Zoldyck are starters. Jing Freaks is one of the backup outfielders, Yuvagin is the catcher, Colt, one of the kind of cool Chimera Ants, is a backup infielder. And then Knuckle is one of our relief pitchers, and Gyro is the kind of mysterious closer for this team. We got Melorion in the outfield. He's one of the backups, and then Moral is a backup infielder. So, big kind of overarching theme for this team is speed and some power. So Shiapoof, Killua, Gon, Kurapika, they all have really kind of elite level speed. Kite is incredibly strong against left-handed pitching, and Netero is overall a very powerful guy too. They have some all-stars on this team, but they don't have a lot of depth, and they don't have great pitching. So those are the 2 weaknesses that we'll see. Moving on next, we got the Gotham City Avengers. So this is going to feature both DC and Marvel superheroes. We got the uniforms on the left and the right. So this team you're gonna see is kind of stacked. So we got the Flash in center field, and Storm in left field, Thor at first base, Black Panther at second, and Doctor Strange as a starting pitcher. For A tier, Captain America is at short, and then really solid pitching. We've got Superman as a starter, Jean Grey as a starter, Vision as a relief pitcher, and Wolverine as the closer. Hulk is in right field, Green Lantern and Silver Surfer are both solid backup outfielders. We got Iron Man at third, Batman as the catcher, and Spider-Man as one of the backup infielders. And then rounding out the team, Nightcrawler is a backup infielder, and Hawkeye is kind of a throwaway relief pitcher. This team is hard to beat. They have elite power and elite speed, and then also, as you can see, really great pitching. Maybe might run into a little bit of depth problems, with pitching, but I don't know. This is one of the better teams that we got in the league. All right, next up is the Hyrule Heroes. This team is interesting. It's not all Zelda, so it's kind of more like a Super Smash Bros. Team. But you'll see once we get into the roster. And here are their home and away uniforms. So for this team, we got Link in right field, Samurai Jack at shortstop. Sorry, I love Samurai Jack, and I have to fit him in somewhere, so he's on this team. Samus Aran is at third, and the Happy Mask Salesman is at first. We got Falco in left, Young Link as a relief pitcher, and then Zelda and Danby as starters. Marth is in center field, Solid Snake is the catcher, Banjo-Kazooie is a starter, Guru and Captain Falcon are relievers. We got Fox as a backup outfielder, Makar is a second baseman, Impa and Lord Jabu Jabu as backup infielders, and then Sheik is the closer. And Kirby is like a throwaway outfielder. So this team's all right. They have pretty good pitching for for the quality of the rest of the team, and then a couple of kind of all-stars. So Samus has a cannon of an arm and is a really good power hitter. Happy Mask Salesman just seems to hit dingers like all the time. And then Samurai Jack is really great against left-handed pitching, and he's good defensively. But not a lot of depth on this team. Not as fast as the other two that we've looked at so far. All right, next up we got the Star Wars team. So this is the Tatooine Rebels. Their two uniforms are pretty different. The home uniforms are supposed to be the classic, jumping into an X-Wing orange jumpers. And the away is supposed to be kind of Boba Fett inspired. I also flipped the little logo around to make it look a little more like a helmet. So for this team, Chewbacca plays first. Luke Skywalker is our second baseman, with the Mandalorian behind the plate at catcher. Kylo Ren is a starter. Yoda is a closer / relief, and then Wedge Antilles is also the kind of real dedicated closer. Rey plays center field. Han Solo is our shortstop, with Boba Fett at third. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a starter, and Baby Yoda is a relief pitcher. Grogu for the real fans, I apologize. Mace Windu's in left. Princess Leia is a backup infielder / catcher. Lando is a starting pitcher, and C-3PO is a reliever. Kyle Katarn, shout out. He's a backup outfielder. He sucks. He actually might be the dedicated right fielder, but he's bad. And then I think Greedo is the backup. BB-8 and R2-D2 are beloved droids. They suck at baseball. They don't have arms, so they're the kind of bad backups. This team's all right. Chewbacca is incredible. He's so good. And Mandalorian and Luke are also really great. Luke especially is a really good contact hitter, and I think has incredible power against lefties. So this is a formidable team, but definitely beatable, and okay on the depth front. All right, here we go. So next up we got the Rock City Mavericks. So this is the Megaman X inspired team. Home jerseys are like Megaman X, away jerseys are like Zero. I think these are pretty sharp looking, and this is a really good team. Oh, sorry about that one blue straggler. But for the S tier, we got Vile in left, Zero at shortstop, Crystal Snail as a starter, Dr. Light as the closer, and Magma Dragoon as a relief pitcher. For the A tier, we have Storm Eagle in center, Magna Centipede in right, Flame Stag as a backup outfielder, Spark Mandrill at first, and Armored Armadillo at behind the plate as catcher. Stink Chameleon is also in the outfield, and then rounding out the infield, we got Bubble Crab at second base, Megaman X, the man himself, at third, Surges as a backup infielder / catcher, and then Boomer Kuwanger as one of the other starters. Gravity Beetle is also a starter. Chill Penguin is a backup outfielder, and Wire Sponge is one of the relievers. And then Neon Tiger just kind of sits around in the infield every once in a while. This team is another kind of elite one. Really, really high on the power stats. So Vile, Zero, and I think Flame Stag and Magna Centipede and Spark Mandrill, all of them hit dingers kind of all day. So yeah, really, really high in the power, and those guys are all quick as well. Pretty good depth all around too. There's a lot of solid backups for everyone. So this is a really good team. Their one weakness a little bit is pitching. They got great pitching in each of the categories, but just not a lot of depth. So one game might be terrible against them, but the next one you might have an opportunity. All right, next up we got the Midgar Meteors. This is our Final Fantasy team. And their home and away jerseys on the left and the right. Notice how there's kind of like the incoming flame as the meteors come in. I thought that was a pretty cool touch. All right, so for this team, Kamari Runzo is the first baseman. Gilgamesh is in center field with Barrett and Mustadio splitting it at third base, and Wygraph from Final Fantasy Tactics, one of the the big bad guys, as a relief pitcher. In right field, we got Delita. At shortstop, we got Cloud. Sid Highwind is a starter, and then Eris is a closer. Agrius from Final Fantasy Tactics is in left field with Tifa Lockhart at second base. Vincent is our catcher, and Kate says it's one of the backup catchers / infielders. With Red 13 from Final Fantasy VII and Ramza from Final Fantasy Tactics as rounding out our starters. Chocobo is a backup outfielder. Noctis from Final Fantasy 15 is a backup infielder, and then Yuna is one of the back relief pitchers. And poor Ignis, I love Ignis, but somebody needs to be the F on this team, so it ended up being Ignis from Final Fantasy 15 in the outfield. This team's all right. There's not too much to write home about. They have some really great players. Kamari Ronzo is kind of one of the best hitters in the league, and then Gilgamesh, I love him in center field. Barrett's got a cannon, as he should, and Mustadio's really good against left-handed pitching. But not one of the most shimmery, shiny teams, but just some great players. All right, okay, so here we go. So the Meteor City Phantom Troupe. Again, another Hunter x Hunter team, but more than Hunter x Hunter, this is kind of the central location of all the bad boys. So not just like the villains of each genre, but the oh man, I love that villain. Those kinds of guys, the complex villains. And we got their home and away jerseys featured here. All right, so as you can see on the spread, this is another really elite team. So we got P2, one of the other Chimera Ant Royal Guards, in center field. Scar is a, quote, backup outfielder, but anyone would love him as an outfielder. Hisoka at shortstop. And then for pitching, we got Meruem, the King Chimera Ant, as a starter. Darth Vader as a starter. The Night King as a starter. And Bellatrix Lestrange as a relief pitcher. This is basically the rest of the roster. So we got Sigma from Mega Man X in the left. The Lich from Adventure Time in right. Sauron from Lord of the Rings as a backup outfielder. Ganondorf at third. The Joker at second base. And Mecha Red Skull from shout out to Captain America and the Avengers for the SNES / arcade. He's at first base. He's also like 7 feet tall. John Luther. I love Luther. He's the catcher. He's behind the plate. And then we got Howl Pendragon from Howl's Moving Castle as one of the starters. Boo as a relief pitcher. It's actually King Boo. King Boo. Aku is another relief pitcher, and Sephiroth as a closer. And these are the last two players on the team. Thanos, he loses, right? So Thanos is one of the backup infielders / catchers. And then the Egyptian god Set, there's a mythology team, is another one of the backup infielders. All right, moving on to the Westeros Watch. This is our Game of Thrones team. We got home, Stark-inspired uniforms, and away Lannister-inspired uniforms. All right, so, oh man, the Hound, our boy, Sandor Clegane at third base, Jaime Lannister in center, Arya Stark at short, Lyanna Mormont, I know, pretty solid addition, is a backup infielder, and then Cersei Lannister as one of the pitchers. I think she's actually a starter. She's listed as a reliever there, but Khal Drogo's in right field, Tyrion Lannister at second, Jorah Mormont as a catcher, and then Hodor as an infielder / backup catch. We got Ghost in left. We got the Martell dude is one of the backup outfielders over in Martell. Tywin Lannister as a starter, Daenerys as a starter, Olenna Tyrell as a starter, and then Ghost is Nymeria is our closing pitcher. Ghost is left field, Nymeria is the closing pitcher for this team. Brienne of Tarth at first, Jon Snow is a backup infielder, and Varys is one of our relievers. And then Tormund Giantsbane is the backup outfielder. This team, it's got Arya and it's got the Hound. So, what else do you care about? They are incredible. I would love to have them on my team. All right, the Mario team is the Mushroom Kingdom All-Stars. Got Mario and Luigi home and away uniforms. So for this team, we got Shy Guy behind the plate as our catcher. We got Bowser as a starting pitcher. Lakitu in center field. Mario and Luigi split the diamond at short and second. And then Wario is another catcher too. Yoshi is in right field. Toad is in left field. Rosalina at first. Shadow Mario as a relief pitcher. And Luma as a relief pitcher. We got Diddy Kong and Toadette as backup outfielders, DK at third, and Birdo as a closing pitcher. Koopa Troopa in the infield, Peach and Waluigi as starters, and Ludwig von Koopa as a backup infielder. This team is, I love the Mario characters, so I made a lot of individual pretty great players. Mario and Luigi are both really good. Shy Guy is great. Shy Guy is clutch. He hits them when he needs to. And then Lakitu is fast, has great range. This team is pretty good, and they have some decent depth. So this is a pretty good team. All right, Majora's Mask. So this is kind of where it all started. This was the first team in this experiment. So the Terminia Majora's Mask. You'll see there's more players on this team. The home and away jerseys are there. All right, so for this team, S tier, we got the Moon in left. We got Gyorg, Oduawa, and Twin Mold as starting pitchers. The Postman's Hat at third base. The shortstop is Captain's Hat. Deku at second, and Goron at first. And then Goat, Zora, and Fierce Deity, two starters, and our closer. Garrow is a backup outfielder / right fielder predominantly, with Stone as the catcher. Couples Mask and Gorman as starters. And Blast as a relief pitcher. In the outfield, we got Bunny Hood in center, Donjiro Mask in right field, Giants Mask as a backup. Moving into the infield, we got Mask of Truth at first, and then for pitching, we got Great Fairy Romani as both starters, and then Gibdo Mask as a relief pitcher. Behind the plate as a backup, we have Skull Kid, and in the infield as a backup, we have Keaton, and then Keifi, just kind of prances around the laundry pool. Every once in a while decides he wants to play some baseball at second base. So this team, again, one of the first ones we made, so there's a lot more players on this team. But, has really solid pitching and a great, straight up infield, but not as much depth. The Moon is kind of terrifying every time he gets up to plate, and he's got power and contact stats through the roof, so he's always terrifying. But, a decent team. All right, so Disney, we're going to talk through the AL West now. Disney's Toy Glory is the Disney team. We got Toy Story themed uniforms with Woody as the home and Buzz as the away. This team is not as good, you'll see. So Eeyore is the closing pitcher. Mickey Mouse is at third, I think, and Moana is at second. They might be swapped. And then Olaf is at our starting pitcher. Aladdin in center field with Maui in right, Goofy at first base, and Mulan as another starter. We got Stitch in left, and then Tigger and Minion Bob as backups, with Buzz Lightyear at short, Elsa and Woody as starters, and Rafiki as a relief pitcher. Winnie the Pooh is our catcher, with Scott Calvin, aka Santa Claus from The Santa Claus, as one of the backup infielders / catchers. Scrooge McDuck is kind of a throwaway backup infielder, and then Mr. Toad is kind of drunk, and whenever he comes into the game, you know, who knows what's going to happen. He's a relief pitcher. He's terrible. This team is not good. You know, Moana and Mickey are kind of fine, and Eeyore is like a decent closer, but this is a bad team. Yeah, just they didn't get the luck of the draw. All right, the Kanto Ultra Balls, our Pokemon team, with Ultra Ball themed home uniforms and Pokeball themed away uniforms. Squirtle is like a kind of all-around outfielder, with Jigglypuff predominantly in left and Mewtwo as the shortstop. Articuno, our wide-ranging center fielder. Gengar, our second baseman, and Pikachu, our closer. Electrode in right, NT at third base, and Heracross behind the plate, with Rayquaza and Charizard as starting pitchers. Politoed as a backup outfielder, Espeon as a starter, and Kyogre as a relief pitcher. Bellosum as a backup outfielder, Scizor as our first baseman, and Sudowoodo as backup infielder. Corsola in the infield as well, and then Onix as a relief pitcher. The Pokemon team is pretty good. It's another team kind of great players. Squirtle, Jigglypuff, Mewtwo, Gengar. Pikachu is also really great as a closer, but those guys are great power, great contact, great defensively. Heracross is another kind of sleeper pick. He's B, but he kind of is up there for catchers. He's got really good power, both from the left and the right side. NT's also good as another kind of great power hitter. This team doesn't have the best pitching. They're kind of weak on the pitching front, but as far as a hitting offensive team, they're great. All right. Next up is the Pottsfield Adlewood. So this might be a little bit one of the more kind of fringe universes that I included here. This is from Over the Garden Wall, and also combines a little bit of Studio Ghibli stuff, so it's kind of like nostalgia childhood vibes. The left uniform is supposed to be based on Wirt from Over the Garden Wall, while the right uniform is based on Greg from Over the Garden Wall. So S tier on this team, we got Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service, ranging around in center field, and Greg from Over the Garden Wall as behind the plate. Arietti from another Ghibli movie is at shortstop, with Totoro at first, and Auntie Whispers is a starting pitcher. Adelaide is another starter. Enoch, also a starting pitcher, with the Highwayman and the Faceless as our two reliever and closer. We got Beatrice in left and Porco Rosso in right, with the Woodsman, in at third base, and Dr. Cucumber is the name I chose for this guy as a backup infielder. We got Miss Langtree as one of our backup outfielders. Tombo at second base, with Quincy Endicott in the infield as needed too, and then Wirt as a relief pitcher, and the Toy Maker as our backup outfielder. This team is kind of fun. They're not great, but they're fun. Kiki and Greg are incredible, and then Totoro hits for great power. They have pretty solid pitching. Auntie Whispers, Enoch, and Adelaide are a great kind of starting crew. But yeah, this team is just kind of fun to play, and to kind of imagine these characters on a baseball diamond. All right, next up, Adventure Time. So we got home jerseys for Jake Suit, and away jerseys with BMO as the hat. Earl of Lemongrab in right field. Peppermint Butler as a backup outfielder. He kind of can play anywhere. With Marceline at third, and then Ice King and PB as starting pitchers. Jake in left, Finn in center, Cinnamon Bun at first base, and Prismo is our closing pitcher. Root Beer Guy is a backup outfielder, with Magic Man at short and Tree Trunks at second, and BMO behind the plate. Starchy is one of our backup infielders, along with the Duke of Nuts. And then Ricardio and Baby Snaps, or Princess Cookie, I think is another name, are two relief pitchers, with Zergiok, James as infield or outfield, infield, and LSP all as kind of super weak position players. LSP is a starter. So Earl of Lemongrab is great. Marceline is pretty good. PB and Ice King also are great pitchers. Finn and Jake are fun, and they're good too. Jake is a really, really good power hitter. He kind of plays more like an A-tier kind of power hitter. Another kind of middling team. Pretty good speed-wise, but not as much depth. Yeah. All right. The Connecticut Kings of Demons, another interesting team, but this is more like retro video games. So that's the category for this. So they are in the National League, so we're moving into the National League. There's a few teams we'll talk about in detail, and then we'll kind of fly through the rest. So Firebrand from Demon's Crest, he's our third baseman. Gemini Man from Megaman Soccer, in our family, is in center field with Monkey Target in right field. Thumper from Twisted Metal 2 is our first baseman, and Lin from Nightfire for the GameCube, or like PS2 or whatever, is our closing pitcher. Tetsujin in left field with Woodman as the catcher, and the Wizard from King of Dragons as one of the starting pitchers. Tetsujin's from Jet Moto, and Woodman's also from Megaman Soccer. BT dubs. Wander from Shadow the Colossus is our shortstop, with Mumbo Jumbo as our second baseman. Plock from the game Plock as one of our starting pitchers, and then the Dwarf from King of Dragons is a reliever. This is, I don't know, the red-faced man from Mike Lindell, I think, from Biomenace, is one of our backup outfielders, with Ness as a backup infielder and catcher. That is Scott Skiles from the Orlando Magic, probably circa like 1994, because he drained threes like nobody's business in Space Jam. So that's why he's here. And then Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal is another starting pitcher. Submariner, thank you, Submariner, as a backup outfielder, also from Captain America: The Avengers. And Toadman, Jiggle That Belly, Big Boy, is another one of our backup outfielders, also from Mega Man Soccer. This is another just kind of fun team. Firebrand is one of my favorite players to pick up. He's great, and he just kind of looks cool. And yeah, he's got good music. He's awesome. And then yeah, some kind of cool position players spread around. Not one of the best teams, but a lot of fun. All right, the Scranton Showmen. So this is kind of Office inspired. You can see their home and away uniforms here. So behind the plate, we got Ron Swanson, one of the starting pitchers. So this is kind of all different TV shows and genres, but I really love all the Jomboy content, kind of all their different channels. So Jomboy himself, Jimmy O'Brien, is one of our elite starters. We got Joe Bluth in left. We got Orla McCool from Dairy Girls in right. Job from Arrested Development. Jake Storiale, Jomboy's best friend, at second base, and Omar Little from The Wire at third. Michael Scott in center with Barry Zuckercorn as a backup outfielder. Kevin Malone at first. Bunk Moreland as a backup infielder / catcher. And then Tobias Funke as a starter, also from Arrested Development. Bunk is from The Wire too. I think everybody else you should probably know from The Office. Dwight Schrute from The Office at first base. Troy Barnes from Community at shortstop. And then April Ludgate from Parks and Rec is our closing pitcher. Toby Flenderson from The Office. I hate everything there is about you that you choose to be. He's our backup outfielder, with Buster Bluth as a reliever and Gary Gingrich also as a relief pitcher. Britta Perry, she's the worst. She's a backup infielder, and then Aved Nadir Abed is our another starting pitcher. It's very bad. They're both from Community. So this team, it's got Jake and Jomboy. They're both fantastic. Yeah, and then Omar should kind of be S tier. He hits bombs. Orla McCool too. She kind of hits a home run every time she's up. So this is a solid team. A lot of good depth. All right, we're kind of moving into the home stretch of the detailed teams. So we got the Lord of the Rings team coming up here for Frodo. So Treebeard is the first baseman. Tom Bombadil's a starter. Gimli is in the outfield. He's kind of just, got a really cannon of an arm. That's why he's out there. with Aragorn at short, Gandalf as a starter, and Éomer as a reliever. Legolas in center, Merry and Pippin. Sorry, it's just Pippin, I think, isn't right. Sam Gamgee is in the catcher. Isildur is another backup outfielder with Galadriel on the mound. Frodo is at second with Theoden as a reliever. Balrog is another backup infielder with Bilbo as a starter. And then Boromir and Gollum are kind of both bad infielders. Merry is also supposed to be on here. I think he just got dropped. But he is, I think, he's opposite of Pippin, so I think he's left field and Pippin's right field. So his picture just didn't make it here. All right, so another kind of one of these combo teams, so kind of like the Phantom Troupe, but these are more like actual monsters from all these different genres, so more scary, less cool. So we got Yuppie from Hunter x Hunter, he's at third. Tonberry from Final Fantasy is one of the catchers. Another catcher on this team, Tonberry's also a backup infielder. The dedicated catcher on this team is the Mountain, Gregor Clegane. Sigma's Head is a starter. Cthulhu is also a starter. And then we got Chernabog as a relief pitcher from Night on Bald Mountain, Fantasia. And Galactus as a closer. The Rancor from Star Wars in left. Bahamut in center from Final Fantasy. And Hunson Abadir from Adventure Time in right. Godzilla at shortstop. Gildas from King of Dragons is at second base. And then Titan, the Colossal Titan specifically, from Attack on Titan at first. Arceus from Pokemon as a starter, and then the Beast from Over the Garden Wall is another starting pitcher. Shelob is a catcher. Gunter is a backup outfielder, as well as the Emerald Weapon. And then Petey Piranha as a backup infielder, and Voldemort as a relief pitcher. This is a really, really fantastic team. They're in the National League, so we won't really play them, but I'm curious to see if they're going to be across from us in the World Series if we make it that far. They are really, really great. Okay, the Toon Squad is next. Cartoons, if you couldn't guess. And now's where we're going to kind of go through things a lot quicker. I'm just going to kind of have the pictures up here and read through the players quick. But again, we're not going to see these guys in play, so it's more just for fun that they're built. So we got Doc Gerbil, we got Mikasa and Levi Ackerman, Stu Pickles, Norb Beaver, you got Dag Beaver down there too, SpongeBob, Plankton, Chucky Finster, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Squidward Tentacles, Aaron Yeager, Major Glory, Mr. Krabs, Dexter, Nasty Jack from Winnie the Pooh, Doug Funny, Patrick Star, Mrs. Puff, and Mojo Jojo. Okay, team. The Weenie Hut Generals, think kind of the opposite of the Phantom Troupe. But they're pretty good. Sebulba, right field. Seiken from Zelda. Dolores Umbridge. That is Paris from kind of Mythology. Tonfa from Hunter x Hunter. Algus from Final Fantasy Tactics. Gaston. Magikarp. Wormtongue. Butterfinger's Mace from Jet Moto. Anybody that gets that reference, God bless you. Jason Funderburger from Over the Garden Wall. Dimongo. Percy Bone. That's probably one of the deepest cuts in this video from Doug. Joffrey Baratheon / Lannister. Sir Slicer from Adventure Time. Abra Daniel. Gafgarion. Double. Modok. Magikoopa. And then, sorry, Stephen Carter Daly, but yes, you did make this list. All right, we got moving into the home stretch. We got the Mount Olympus Mythics. So that top guy is Patroclus, Achilles' boyfriend. Loki. Who else? That is Dionysus, Achilles, Apollo, Ajax, Hector, Sarpedon, Hephaestus, Osiris, Prometheus, Hermes, Thoth, Odysseus, Medusa, Charybdis, the giant whirlpool monster, Poseidon, a siren. That's actually a clip from Samurai Jack, and then Hades. This team sucks, so we're not really gonna have to worry about them. The Hollywood Handshakes. This is from the Great British Bake Off. You know, again, one of the weirder things that made it to this universe, but it's a great show. I've watched it a lot. So we got Nadia, we got Paul Hollywood, Liam, Sophie, Rahul, Noel Fielding, Selassie, Henry, love you Henry, Sandy Toastfig, oh no, Candace, sorry Candace, Jamal, Manon, Ruby, David, Kate, Pruleaf, Julia, Rowan, and Howard. Yep. Yeah, another kind of bad team. Street Fighter, we got Dalsim, Vega, Chun-Li, Zangief, E-Honda, Guile. That's the bad guy from Cobra Kai. Mr. Miyagi, Blanca, Balrog, Akuma. Oh, the three ninjas. So that's Tum Tum, M. Bison, Ryu, Sagat, Ken, Colt, and Rocky, and then none of themselves, the Karate Kid, Daniel LaRusso. For Harry Potter, we got the guy, the man, the myth, the legend, Harry Potter, the boy who lived, Hermione Granger, the Whomping Willow, Hagrid, Dobby, Hedwig, Dumbledore, Ron Weasley, Victor Crumb, Severus Snape, Cedric Diggory, Neville Longbottom, Oliver Wood, Minerva McGonagall, Malfoy, Dudley Dursley, Argus Filch, Sirius Black, and Remus Lupin. I got a team of animals for fun. You know, we started getting low on the ideas, but yeah, you know, we got some animals. We got a peregrine falcon, a hippopotamus. This is a science lesson for everyone. That's an ant, a sea turtle, an orangutan, a gazelle, a condor, a wolf, a puma, a bullfrog. That's a beaver, a toucan, a giraffe, a Tyrannosaurus rex, a sloth, a praying mantis, a luna moth, a koala, and a sperm whale. And I think someone is missing. I don't know which poor animal is missing. All right. And then last but not least, these are just uniforms for the teams that feature MLB Legends, the first two teams. So like Babe Ruth, Cy Young, those kind of guys. And then MLB current All-Stars like, you know, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. You know, I'm a Yankees fan if you couldn't tell. So the Jokers, the Pensacola Pickle Things. It's a horrible, not horrible, horrifying was the correct word. Book by the guy that wrote the Arthur books. Look it up if you want to have some nightmares. The Gouge City Grease Monkeys, just another cool Final Fantasy shout out. And then the Munich Survey Corps. And I believe that brings us to the end of the slideshow. So thank you all for bearing with me. I hope that this seems like a cool concept to you guys. How this is going to work is the next video will be a draft, as I said, again, for our team, for the Ragtag Rangers. And then after that, we're going to try to put up some videos of gameplay. There's going to be cool kind of events where, you know, when we're playing certain teams, there'll be certain conditions where maybe we can unlock players or lose players. So hopefully there'll be a little bit of like metagame and drama as we go. But that's going to do it for this first video. Thank you all.